She told me she needed spiritual space. Then she packed her bags, kissed our dog goodbye, and went to a tantric retreat with a guy named Kairos. Turns out, Kairos was more than her energy guide. He was her soul partner. But here's what she didn't know. This sacred space, where she found herself, I owned it. And if you stay with me, you'll see exactly how I turned their enlightenment journey into a very public awakening. My name's Daniel. I'm 36, I run a chain of wellness centers in Oregon, and I used to believe in unconditional love. Used to. I met Clara when she was working at a vegan cafe. She was funny, open-hearted, and completely immersed in crystals, energy work, and past life clearing. Not my thing, but I loved her intensity. She said I grounded her. I thought we were solid. We lived together for 5 years. I paid the rent, supported her coaching practice, and never blinked when she took long trips to recharge her feminine flow. But the real twist came when she met Kairos. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I watched, listened, and then I noticed something about where her retreat was being held. Let's just say she walked right into my house and didn't even realize it. Back then, I didn't know how far I'd go. But if you stick around till the end, you'll understand exactly why I don't give second chances. And hey, maybe you'll want to send this to someone who still thinks spiritual bypassing is just a phase. I should have trusted my gut the moment she asked if I wanted to reconnect at the cacao ceremony. It was a Tuesday night. Clara floated into the living room, barefoot as always, wearing that flowing burnt orange wrap she loved, the one she said made her feel like a fire goddess. She leaned against the doorframe and said, almost too casually, "It's not a couple's thing, just sacred space. You can come as you are." I didn't want to go. I hate that kind of stuff. I'm not a cynic. I run wellness centers, for God's sake. But when people start talking about yoni breath and divine eye gazing, I tend to check out. Still, I said yes, partly because I missed her, mostly because I didn't trust what she wasn't telling me. The event was hosted in a barn-style dome outside Ashland. Incense hung heavy in the air. There were rugs, pillows, salt lamps, and too many guys with man buns and wild masculine tattoos. Then I saw him. He stood barefoot in the center, a circle of devotees around him, speaking in low, drawn-out tones like he was channeling something from another realm. "When we shed the false ego, we make space for union," he said. Union with Source. Union with self. Union with mirrors. His name was Kairos. Of course it was. He had copper-colored bracelets stacked halfway to his elbows and a bone pendant that hung just low enough to show off his abs. And Clara, my Clara, was sitting on a cushion right at his feet, eyes closed, swaying like a willow in the wind. I stood frozen, just outside the circle. She opened her eyes once, looked right past me, then gave him a look I'd only ever seen in private. A look that used to be mine. Later, during the heart-opening dance, I stepped outside. Needed air. Needed logic. I walked toward the tree line, fists tight in my pockets. That's when I heard them, just beyond the path, whispering. Her voice, breathy. His voice, lower now, intimate. "You're not just a student," he said. "You're my mirror soul. You've always been." She didn't stop him. I didn't confront them. Not yet. I just stood there, heart pounding, half expecting this to be some weird lucid nightmare. But it wasn't. And as they touched foreheads and he placed his palm on her heart, I realized I wasn't invited to that ceremony as a guest. I was invited as a goodbye. But they didn't know one thing. That dome, those pillows, the land beneath their feet, it was mine. I built it. I signed the lease. I paid the insurance. And if they thought this story was going to end with incense and whispered farewells, they picked the wrong man to disrespect. She didn't even call it a breakup. No, that would have been too harsh, too linear. Clara sat across from me on the back porch, legs crossed, sipping oat milk chai like she was about to deliver a TED Talk. Her tone was soft, almost rehearsed. "I just feel like I'm shedding a layer of myself, Danny. And you're still part of the old skin." The old skin. That's what I was to her now. 5 years of showing up, through her panic attacks, her failed retreats, her late-night spiritual spirals, and suddenly I was just a metaphor. She kept going. "Kairos is helping me access something I didn't even know I was missing. But it's not physical. Not yet. It's soul level. Beyond ego, beyond form." I remember staring at her, trying to process it all. Was she cheating on me? Was I supposed to be grateful that it wasn't physical yet? I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just said, "Are you leaving me?" She blinked, looked genuinely confused. "I'm stepping into a different timeline." "Right. Of course. A different timeline." She moved out 2 days later, into a shared house in Ashland with other light workers. She left behind her crystals, her plants, even her cat. I guess Batet didn't vibe with open field energy. She took my gray hoodie, though, the one she used to steal on cold mornings. That stung more than I expected. Weeks went by. She posted glowing selfies with captions like, "She who releases the past becomes her own priestess." And, "When your mirror soul shows up, trust the pull." She never mentioned me by name, but I could feel myself being erased, rewritten as the man who dimmed her light. Then one night, doom-scrolling on my phone, I saw it. A flyer. The Light Hollow Presence. Tantric Rebirth Weekend with Kairos and Clara. I froze. The Light Hollow. That was the name she gave the retreat center. She had no idea, because she didn't know the land was managed by a holding company I'd set up years ago, during my expansion phase. Different name. Different brand. I hadn't been involved in the day-to-day for over a year, just handled back-end rentals, permits, insurance. But that dome they were planning to fill with candles, breathwork, and hand-fasting ceremonies? It was my dome. My land. My signature on the fire safety logs. At that moment, something shifted. My heartbreak solidified. Hardened. She thought she was dancing in someone else's temple. She didn't realize she was about to hold a ceremony. In my house. And that's when I knew I wouldn't stop her. I'd watch. Let her build the altar, gather the guests, light the candles. And when the moment was right, I'd blow out the flame. I didn't rush. That's the thing about good revenge. It doesn't come loud. It creeps in like a fog, fills every corner, and then settles. The first thing I did? Pulled up the booking contract for the Light Hollow. Turns out, it had been rented through a facilitator I hadn't worked with in years, some flaky middleman named Brandon who ran a shell LLC out of Portland. The retreat was officially registered under Kairos Sacred Ventures. Cute. They'd booked the space for 3 weekends, set up Friday, full day Saturday, and a soul closing circle on Sunday. About 30 guests, including overnight campers. That meant fire code, permits, insurance, and a clause I'd almost forgotten existed. Right of owner inspection, paragraph 17b. Basically, I could show up anytime and evaluate use compliance. No notice needed. But I wasn't about to just walk in and kill the vibe. No, I wanted this to sting. So I made a few calls. First, my lawyer, Janet. Sharp as a scalpel and twice as cold. "You want to revoke access?" she asked. "Not yet," I said. "I want to tighten the rope." Then pull. We reviewed the contract. I updated the event use terms through the rental facilitator, all perfectly legal. New terms included. No commercial filming without prior approval. No unlicensed bodywork or pseudo-therapeutic interventions. All facilitators must submit certifications. And, my favorite, all retreat leaders must be present for a compliance walkthrough before opening. I knew Kairos didn't have a license. He barely had a tax ID. And Clara? She once told me she wasn't bound to Earth constructs like liability. Well, welcome to Earth. Next, I called Mark, my old operations manager. Told him to prep the site for an elevated review. Security camera system? Checked. Booking records? Backed up. Emergency logs? Printed and highlighted. Then I made one last move. I registered the domain kairosexposed.com. Didn't publish anything yet. Just a title and a coming soon banner with a photo of a crystal crumbling. Petty? Maybe. But I wanted him to feel the tremor before the quake. Days passed. Clara kept posting videos of her and Kairos, blending energies, and making vegan stews over open fire. He called her goddess in every caption. She wore white. He wore nothing but linen pants. It all looked like a festival. They had no idea the land was shifting beneath them. And then, the email hit my inbox. From Brandon. "Hi Daniel, just confirming walkthrough at 4 p.m. Friday before the retreat opens. Facilitators will be present. Let me know if you need anything." Oh, I needed plenty. But I'd settle for one thing. A front row seat. I could have lived with the betrayal. I mean, it sucked. But people fall out of love, fall into cults, fall into bed with someone who quotes Rumi like scripture. Fine. But what Clara did next, that's what flipped the switch. She went live on Instagram. I wasn't watching in real time, but a friend sent me the clip. Said, "Isn't this your ex?" It started with soft flute music in the background, a warm amber filter, and Clara staring into the camera like a TEDx speaker on mushrooms. This is a message for women who've dimmed themselves to survive in low-frequency partnerships, she began. Sometimes, the men we think are safe are just the best at hiding their control. She didn't say my name. She didn't have to. Then she dropped the real bomb. I used to share my energy with someone who managed wellness centers, but used that to dominate the flow of our household. Gaslighting dressed as support. Spiritual bypassing disguised as love. The comment section lit up. Yes, Queen. Energy vampires are real. This just validated my last breakup. And then someone asked, "Where can I learn more from you and Kairos?" She smiled, leaned in like it was intimate. "We're opening space at our next retreat. It's about releasing the masculine grip and returning to self." She was using me, not just as an ex, but as a brand. I became a strong man for her martyr arc. And it was working. That same night, their Eventbrite waitlist jumped by 200 signups. A repost went semi-viral. Influencers with names like Moon Mother Rising and the Womb Oracle started tagging her. I sat in my office watching it unfold on 3 monitors, jaw clenched, heart weirdly calm. This wasn't anger anymore. It was precision. I downloaded the live stream. Every frame. Took screenshots of the comments. Made a folder. Timestamped everything. Then I opened an incognito window and visited the website of one of Clara's new sponsors, a subscription box for ritual tools and sacred blends. They had a contact form. "Hi, just thought you might want to see this video. One of your new affiliates describes a former partner as abusive, but leaves out that she lived in his home, was funded by his business, and now uses his retreat center without permission. I'm sure your brand wouldn't want to be associated with potential legal violations. Here's the link." I didn't sign it. I didn't need to. The next day, her name disappeared from their partnered creators list. One string pulled. And that's when I realized Clara wasn't just my ex. She was now her own product. And Kairos? He was the packaging. But their little empire was built on my land, my licenses, my silence. And I was done being silent. I didn't have to search for it. It found me, like all bad marketing eventually does. A targeted ad, sandwiched between an espresso machine and hiking boots. Awaken your inner God. An 8-week journey with Kairos. $888. From wounds to oneness. Featuring live footage from our sacred retreats. Held at the magical Light Hollow Center. I nearly choked on my coffee. Footage? Live footage. From my retreat center? I clicked through. Their promo video was a poorly color-graded slideshow of candlelit rooms, group chanting, and Kairos rubbing essential oils on someone's third eye. My dome appeared in 5 different shots. Full logo, recognizable mural, the spiral garden I planted with my own hands. There was no mention of the property's actual owner. No licensing disclosure. No production rights. Just vibes. This wasn't just some flaky guru with a god complex. This was commercial exploitation. So I went to work. Step 1. Screenshots. Every page. Every term of service. I even downloaded the course preview. 10 minutes of Kairos talking about sacral ascension through polarity collapse, while Clara stared at him like he was made of moonlight. Step 2. I contacted my IP attorney. Not Janet. This needed someone nastier. Manny Kim. A shark. Wears leather indoors. You want to sue the guy or scare the chakras out of him? He asked. Start with the chakras, I said. We'll escalate from there. Manny drafted a cease and desist that read like scripture. Trademark infringement. Unauthorized filming. Misrepresentation of affiliation. Violation of Oregon's Unlawful Trade Practices Act. He sent it certified, signature required. Meanwhile, I checked the back end of their retreat registration form. No LLC listed. No EIN. No refund policy. Which meant, if someone tripped on a candle or had an allergic reaction to their activation tea, I'd still be the one holding liability, unless I made it very clear, publicly and legally, that they were acting without consent. I added a clause to their event contract. Unauthorized commercial activity will result in immediate termination of the booking and forfeiture of all rental fees. Then I called the county health inspector, posed a hypothetical about unlicensed herbal concoctions being served to the public. Her response? We'll be in the area Friday anyway. Want us to swing by? Yes. Yes, I did. By now, Clara had posted a reel dancing in a meadow, captioned, Your divinity is a choice. So is your partner. Cute. But she was building an empire on sand. And Kairos? He just built a castle on my beach. One wave, and it was going under. Friday, 3:56 p.m. For minutes before their big opening the temple ceremony, I parked just outside the gate in a black SUV, not because I was trying to be dramatic, but because it felt right. Black jeans, clean button-down, clipboard in hand. 2 guests were arriving in flower crowns and barefoot sandals. They gave me polite, suspicious looks. I smiled. Time to clock in. The dome shimmered with warm string lights. The spiral garden was trimmed, the path lined with candles. Kairos had gone all out. I recognized the scent of one of Clara's favorite incense blends, Patchouli Rose with a twist of myrrh. Mark, my ex-operations manager, stood near the side entrance, nodding at me once. We were synced. I walked straight through the welcome arch, past the sign-in table, past the surrender your phone basket, and into the center of the dome where 25 wide-eyed attendees sat in a circle. Kairos froze mid-sentence. Welcome, brother, he said, forcing a smile. All who enter this space are mirrors. Good, I said, holding up the clipboard. Then I'm your legal reflection. Let's talk about Clause 17b. Clara's smile cracked. Daniel, what are you doing? Walkthrough, I replied. You signed for it. Fire inspection, sanitation compliance, and a quick chat about the illegal commercial use of footage on your site. Gasps. A few guests looked at each other. One woman started recording discreetly from her lap. Bless her. We're in ceremony, Kairos said. You're disrupting a sacred energetic container. I flipped to page 4. Then let's keep the container compliant. Just then, 2 uniformed fire marshals entered through the back, one of them holding a clipboard of his own. Anonymous tip, he said. Candles with no open flame permits. And, is that a space heater next to the drapes? Kairos turned pale. This is a hate attack, Clara said, rising to her feet. You're trying to silence feminine sovereignty. Clara, I said calmly. You didn't check the fire code. You didn't file the food service permit. And you definitely didn't get approval to sell a $900 spiritual course using footage from private property. I handed her a printed cease and desist. Violation of multiple terms. Your booking is revoked. Effective immediately. All guests must vacate within 90 minutes. No refunds from our end. One of the marshals nodded. They can keep the dome open for packing only. No gathering. No candles. And someone needs to disconnect that heater. Now. Kairos looked like a man whose aura had just short-circuited. He tried to speak, some half-spiritual protest, but his voice cracked. We were called to this land. Right, I said. And now the land's calling you out. I turned and walked out of the dome. Behind me, the sound of whispers, confusion, and the brittle snapping of illusion. And I wasn't even done yet. The live video went up 3 hours later. Clara, backlit by salt lamps. Mascara smudged just enough to look accidental. She sat cross-legged on the floor of what looked like an Airbnb bedroom. Fabrics pinned to the wall, candles unlit this time. I wasn't going to say anything, she began, blinking dramatically. But the masculine just struck our sacred ceremony with violence. With force. With legal aggression. She was trembling. Or acting. Honestly, at that point, I wasn't sure which was worse. This is what happens when women try to step into leadership, she continued. When we stop asking for permission and start trusting our bodies, our wisdom, they shut us down. The comments section lit up. This is abuse. Name him. He sounds toxic AF. Sending you lights, sis. Then came the DM flood. Old clients. Mutual friends. Even one of her old roommates. Is this about you? She's losing it. You okay, man? I didn't answer. I just watched. Because the best part? She'd gone too far. This wasn't just a sad breakup arc anymore. She was accusing me, indirectly but unmistakably, of spiritual suppression, patriarchal sabotage, and emotional violence. All while knowingly operating an illegal, unlicensed retreat on my property. And the receipts? I had them all. So I opened a new anonymous account. I posted a comment under her video, short and sharp. Didn't this all happen on a retreat space you didn't even own? And wasn't this sacred ceremony advertised for profit with no license? Asking for accountability, not ego. It got 200 likes in an hour. Then someone else commented. Wait, this the same Clara that used to work under my name at Vital Center? She ghosted me after I prepaid for a healing package. I remember Kairos. He dated my cousin. Scammed her out of $3,000. The spiral had started. People dug. One Twitter thread compiled screenshots from her past businesses, at least 4 different Instagram accounts with 4 different soul missions. A TikToker with 200K followers made a call-out video titled, "When Healers Harm, the Clara plus Kairos Situation." I didn't post it. I didn't need to. I just redirected energy. The next day, Clara's Soul Path coaching site was down. Her retreat leader badge disappeared from a spiritual coaching directory. And in her latest post, a photo of a forest, no caption, just hashtags. Rebirth. Offline for now. Sacred pause. I couldn't help but smile. They played Guru games on my stage. Now the audience was seeing the wires. I didn't plan to go public. At first. But after Clara's spiral and Kairos's retreat collapse, it wasn't enough to watch the tower fall. I wanted to make sure no one else ever built one like it on my land again. So I made a call to someone I knew would be interested, Jenna Hartman, investigative podcaster, ex-journalist, big on wellness industry scams. Her series, False Light, had exposed more fake shamans than the Oregon Licensing Board. She didn't even let me finish the sentence. You're telling me a self-styled guru used your property for profit, lied about credentials, and got shut down mid-ceremony by fire marshals? Oh honey, we're doing a 3-part special. We scheduled the interview for the next week. Meanwhile, I went back to that website I'd quietly registered, kairosexposed.com. I loaded it with receipts, booking contracts, fire code violations, promotional screenshots, and testimonies from 3 former clients who had not had a transcendental experience, just rashes from the elixir and a $900 hole in their bank accounts. Then I hired a small video team, local freelancers I trusted, and we stitched together a short-form doc. Guru Games, Behind the Curtain. 7 minutes. Fast cuts. Clara's livestream meltdown. Kairos saying, money is just energy. My footage of the dome, the walkout, the shutdown. Voiceover. When spirituality becomes a hustle, who pays the price? We released it quietly. No paid ads. Just a few well-placed comments under viral TikToks and a couple of Reddit threads. It took off. By day 3, it had 85,000 views. By day 5, 500,000. Clara tried to post a vague rebuttal. Some people cling to control. We rise above. But the comments weren't having it. You still haven't explained the unlicensed herbal meds. Was it rising above when you used his property without asking? Girl, accountability is also a vibration. And Kairos? Radio silence. His retreat page went offline. His 8-week journey to oneness vanished. His Instagram shifted from shirtless altar poses to landscape photos and quotes like, "The ego hates exposure." Cute. Jenna's podcast episode aired the following week. Burn Sage and Red Flags. The Kairos Affair. It was brutal. Clinical. No fluff. She broke down the economics of spiritual grifting, the language of manipulation, and how platforms like theirs prey on people in trauma recovery. Clara and Kairos were never named directly, but if you knew, you knew. And more people knew than I expected. The next time I searched Kairos Sacred Ventures, the first autocomplete result was, Kairos Sacred Ventures exposed. Not my doing. Just the algorithm catching on. And I realized then, this wasn't just my personal win. This was structural. Because when you strip a grifter of their mystique, they've got nothing left but linen pants and an overdue tax bill. I expected backlash. Some anonymous DMs. Maybe a cease and desist from their end, a half-baked threat. But what I got instead? A quiet unraveling. The light hollow, once Clara's sacred vortex of rebirth, started bleeding bookings. Word got out fast in the West Coast wellness scene. The center had been the epicenter of a legal dispute, and some guy shut down a retreat with fire marshals. No one wanted their inner child healing ceremony interrupted by a clipboard. Brandon, the middleman who booked the dome, called me sounding like a man on the verge of tears. "Dude, I didn't know it was her," he stammered. "They said they had all the papers. I swear, I'm pulling the rest of the bookings." I let him panic. Then I calmly revoked his facilitation privileges. The same week, a notice came in from the Oregon Department of Consumer and Business Services. Someone had filed a complaint, not from me, interestingly enough, about Kairos operating an unlicensed business offering healing services. Another from a former attendee claiming food poisoning and emotional coercion. They launched a probe. I happily forwarded documentation. By Friday, Kairos's site was scrubbed. The $888 course? Gone. All redirect links pointed to a basic landing page. Under maintenance. Thank you for your patience during this energetic transition. Energetic, my ass. I checked public records. Kairos's LLC had been suspended for failure to file annual paperwork 2 years in a row. Perfect. Clara's fall came slower, but it came. Her coaching business dropped off Instagram entirely. The same followers who once flooded her lives with heart emojis now flooded her inbox with refund demands. Her last post, a teary-eyed selfie under the caption, "Shadow work isn't always graceful, but I'm committed to truth." The comments weren't forgiving. Then start with an apology. Still waiting for you to own what you did. Funny how your truth started crumbling when lawyers showed up. And then, as if fate wanted to wrap it all with a bow, I got an email. From her. Subject line. Can we talk? 2 lines. I know you probably hate me, but I didn't know it was your land. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Please. I stared at it for a long time. Thought about replying. Thought about saying something cruel, something clever. Instead, I archived it. No response. Because the thing about people like Clara is, they always think they can talk their way back into grace. That enough tears, enough hashtags, enough half-truths can reset the board. But this wasn't a story anymore. It was a case file. It was a closure. And the door was locked. These days, Kairos teaches breathwork on YouTube. 12 views per video. Half of them probably bots. His PayPal link doesn't work anymore. Clara runs a handmade dreamcatcher booth at a weekend flea market in Medford. Her Sacred Sovereignty coaching website now redirects to a blank Wix template. No more retreats. No more moonlit monologues. Just real-world rent and overdue credit cards. And me? I still own the dome. Renovated it, licensed it, turned it into a trauma-informed healing space with actual professionals. Therapists. Counselors. People who don't call themselves channelers of divine womb fire. I never went after them for the money. Didn't need to. I just took back what was mine. Silently. Legally. Surgically. And every now and then, when a new client walks in and mentions how safe the energy feels here, I smile. Because that's what happens when you clear a space of parasites who mistake charisma for character. And let truth burn all the sage in the world.